Okay, here we go, some hints for homework sheet number 9. Now the first question asks you to find the point of intersection between a curve and a straight line. The question doesn't ask you for this, but the picture for this example is that you have a curve which looks like this, and you have a straight line which looks like this. And what we're basically asking for is, can you tell me what the coordinates of these 2 points here are? Now, any time that you have lines crossing, curves crossing, anything at all crossing, it's simultaneous equations. So you need to solve these simultaneously. However, it's not your normal simultaneous equations. To solve this one, you put the first formula, 2x squared minus 5x minus 4, you put it equal to the second formula, x add 4. And the way that we solve that is we make it equal to 0, and we take the x over to this side, and then we take the 4 over to this side. So you end up with a quadratic here, which you then factorise, which lets you find the x numbers. Once you've found those x numbers, you also need to find the y numbers, so you take that x and you plug it back in this formula. You then take that x and also plug it back into that formula. Question 2, after a 20% reduction. So the magic word in this question is the fact that the percentages happen, so it's afterwards. So it really is a reverse percentage question. Okay, so 100 take away 20 leaves you 80%. We know that 80% is equivalent to £196. You've got a choice of methods. Because it's a reverse percentage, we can either do it as a divide sum, or if you know what 80% is, find 1% and then 100%. I prefer the divide method, but you might want to use the other one. Question 3. Now, the area, if I was making this shape to work out its area, I would want to cut that top semicircle off and stick it in here. I would want to cut the second semicircle off and stick it in here. Okay, so what I've actually made is a square. So the area part of the question is just what's the area of a square, length times breadth. It's a bit of a trick. The second part of the question, if I can go back to what we had to start with, we had a picture that looked something like that. The second part, the perimeter, is working out this distance here and this distance here. Well, that's like working out a circle. Then work out this distance here and this distance here. So that's like working out a circle. So the perimeter is actually made up of 2 circles. Okay, so what's the formula for one circle? Pi d. We've got 2 of them, so we're going to use 2 pi d. Okay, and the question tells you the diameter to put in there. Okay, question 4, similar triangles. So how do we do that? Well, then we separate the triangles out. Oops, didn't mean to move that like that, guys. Sorry, let's put it back. Separate the triangles out. Okay, the little triangle has sides 3 and 4. The big triangle has a base 10. Now we don't know what this side here is, but we do know from the question that we are asked to find this distance here, x. So that means then that the big side is that distance x added to 3. So the big side is x add 3. Now we're not going to go down the route of linear scale factor and area scale factor, because the question doesn't ask us about that. We're going to go down the route of setting up corresponding ratios. So I'm going to have 3 over x add 3 is equal to, and then I'm going to have 4 over 10. How does that help me? Because I'm going to cross multiply and have 4 times x, 4 times 3 equals 3 times 10. And then I'm going to solve that little equation, and I'm going to find out what x is. Check back your homework sheets. I think about 3 homework sheets ago we did one of those. Question 5 is the hardest question on the sheet. Okay, especially part A. Okay, you're told in the question that the area of the lawn equals the area of the path. So this area here, this red area, right, is the same as the area of the path. Now another way of thinking about that is that the area of the lawn is half the total area, or the total area is double the lawn area. Okay, so how can we use that? We know from the question that this side here is x. We know also from the question that the length of the lawn is 3 times that, so we know the length of the lawn is 3x. We know this is 1 and this is 1, and then we also know that this distance here is 1 because the path's 1 wide. So when I look at my picture now, the total height of the garden up there is going to be x for this part and 1 for this part. So my total length is going to be x add 1. What's my total length going to be? Well, I know this little bit is 1, I know this big bit is 3x, and I know this little bit is 1. So all the way along there is going to be 3x add 2. That's going to equal 2 times the lawn. Now the lawn, we've got the sizes for that on the picture. We know that it's x high, and we know that it's 3x wide. So its area is going to be 2 times x times 3x. So if I remove these brackets, I get 3x squared plus 5x plus 2 equals, and then if I tidy this side up here, 2 times x times 3x is 6x squared. And then all I've got to do is take the 3x squared over, the 5x over, and the 2 over, and I'll end up with 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. Just as the question asked. Okay, but that's quite difficult to do. However, when it comes to part B of the question, all we need to do is take this part here and solve it. So we can do part B easy. That's just like what we've been doing in class today about finding roots. So 3x squared minus 5x minus 2 equals 0. Factorise it, work out what the x numbers are. So part A is hard, part B is easy. The last 4 questions hopefully are quite straightforward for you. Bod mass, so we're going to do this bit first of all, 3 times 7 times 7. So get that answer, and then we're going to add on to that 2.1. Question 7, fractions. Again, bod mass, so we're going to do the bit in the bracket first this time. So 3 1/3 take away 1 3/4. First thing we do here is we do the whole numbers. So 3 take away 1 is 2, and then we deal with the fractions. So the first number that goes into that 3 and 4 both goes into is 12. So get the new top numbers, do a takeaway, and then you're going to deal with the first part of the question, which was 2/5 off. Now remember, off in mathematics just means times. Okay, so 2 over 5 times. What you'll need to do is turn this answer top heavy. Things should cancel, and you should get a nice easy answer at the end. Question 8. Now this is the third type of this question in this homework. Question 1, question 5b and question 8 are all very, very similar. Factorise, put it equal to 0, work out the little x's. And finally question 9, we have to work out the gradient of that line. So we need to get this line into the form y equals mx plus c, because that m there is indeed your gradient. So how are we going to do that? First thing we're going to do is we're going to move the 2x over, then we're going to move the plus 10 over, so that's going to give us 5y equals something. Then we're going to move the 5 over, that's going to then give us y equals. If you can get it into this form here, y equals something x, add something, the answer to your question is this first something. What's the something before the x? Because the something before the x is the gradient. Okay, that's us.